consultant, the joint option, and then all of your credentials are right here, similarly in your agenda.
Will these always be the meeting IDs and passwords
That's how they
for our meeting?
Yes.
So it's not like each individual meeting has its own?
No, until.
All we're going to do today is agree on the
That
main
makes it
topics.
Thank you.
We do our best.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, if you do need anything, don't
We
hesitate to
worked
ask.
up
We're
and
happy.
Bob was trying to
Thank you.
All right, I'm around today.
write up and he never finished it.
No, here it is.
Of course, thank you.
I have it. I worked on it before. We have, these are the main 16 recommendations, 1, 2, 3, down to 16. Okay. Those are the things we are voting on.
What-
today.
This is not what Mom and I worked on.
No, no,
I-
no, what you and Ruth Ann worked on is what I will consider what I consider these recommendations plus some explanation. I don't know what exactly how much detail you're going into. And that will be for the town council, for the planning commission, for the general public. What I have done, what I originally did was for the planning department and the consultants. It's at a lower level. Yours is at a sort of overview level.
Yes, yes.
Okay, yes, we need both. We need both. We need yours and we need this, both.
So we have,
We have the list of 16 and we can discuss them a bit, but we don't have much time because Gary's here for only 45
I know,
minutes.
I
Yeah.
know.
Pat said she'll be here. She emailed me this morning.
She's actually going to be here in present. She's gonna
Well,
Physically be here.
I told her that I wasn't sure we'd have Zoom working. It's better to show up at the schoolhouse. I hope so. Shall I call her right now? Well, what you're working on is very important, but it's not. There are going to be 2 work products, actually 3 from the committee. One is just the voting on the recommendations. Second is yours, which is the executive summary, I'll call it, okay?
All right.
And the third is the detail for the planning department and consultant.
Okay, well, you have that well in mind, so we'll call upon you to explain that.
Okay. We'll do that. Hello, Mary.
Hello.
Hello, Mary.
We've got Zoom.
So the main purpose of this meeting, the main purpose, to agree on the main topics that will have to be presented to the town and to the yes, and other committees of the town.
Yes.
And to the recommendations to the just give me a second. Let's see what's up sometime.
Yeah,
Getting ready for this is
no,
just.
Chloe's really funny because if she doesn't know someone or remember you, she kind of panics, you know, it's like, anyway, she's really cute. She'll go hide it in her mom's leg. and her dad's leg. Yeah, the team one, yeah.
Safety element. So we're going to be talking about the main topics for the safety element. And we're gonna- Time we'll discuss them. We're going to agree on what those topics are.
Right.
And that's what it's on hard yesterday with. Have them here.
Did you change the actual
No,
topics or
no,
just the detail
no.
underneath? Bob says, no, you did not change what we're going to vote on today. Just the
It's a
topics,
topic.
just the topic.
We we put in the topic and a lot of the things underneath, but just focused on the main points,
Yes.
not all the details that
That's
you
right.
wanted to talk about.
No, I don't want to talk about the details. I just want to give them to the planning department. So they can,
Okay, well, I'll let you
Okay.
explain that.
okay, all right.
Going to be a difficult meeting, Mary.
Short and.
Why don't you come up for a minute?
Yes, Jeff.
We're not really prepared for this meeting.
Yes,
We're
you are.
just barely prepared. We don't even have minutes of the last meeting. But this is just the way it is. The town makes us have these meetings and we're not fully prepared. We just haven't been. Nan's been in the hospital part of the time. Bob's been overwhelmed with work. This is just a simple work session and nothing more than that.
Good.
So that's all I want you to know that.
Thank
We're-
you.
and We're barely prepared for it.
Our third meeting, we need to vote on the,
Oh, good. I'd love a handout. because my computer is starting to kind of update. Mine, the battery's expanding and warping the case. I
Bob.
finally figured out why it doesn't sit on the table right.
Who's over there?
Pat.
Pat came. Hello, Pat. Glad to have you
Came
here.
back to the United States just for you, Dad.
I kinged them for a plug, to plug in. I thought there was one.
Okay, there are plugs.
Come down there. That's what I
Looks
want.
like there's one here.
Well, I see one next to Ann.
That's the power strip.
we are, I think we are prepared for these. That we're not prepared, we do not have the documents that you're doing and that I'm doing. Those are not finished. But those will have to be prepared based on the vote on the topic.
Yeah, we're just worried about the topics.
Exactly.
That's all. That's our main concern.
Yes,
That's it.
that's right.
The topics to be presented to the town regarding the safety element.
Yes, and presented in more detail.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
7 minutes to the time.
Busy. What's up?
And so you've got the main topics over there on the.
I have the link. I'm not sending
I
it,
know,
but
you
I'll
guys
have
are
the link.
there and I can't be there because I am in a meeting. Okay.
I'm also on call for
For
jury duty.
Yeah. Are you still on call today?
Yes.
Or this afternoon or what?
Have to call at 11 o'clock. Ruthann will do it for me.
Awesome.
Okay. Oh, wow. So that would be for jury duty this afternoon,
Yes.
right? Okay. We have the meeting done.
Well, yeah. Well, we will. That much will be done. We don't have all that much to do.
So I need to go to the town website and find the user.
So on website, calendar, Geologic Safety Committee, agenda. Click on the URL for the meeting.
Town,
Our website, calendar.
I don't see calendar. Oh, there it is.
So
Great, okay. I'll talk to you after, I'm about to start a special meeting. I will call you afterwards.
And just click on Geologic Safety Committee. And,
Okay.
Going without video, without video? No, I need
hang up,
video
Bob.
to show. Yeah.
So if my phone rings, I'm gonna pop up.
Do we have audio here? Yeah.
Betsy, I gotta go, but I'll call you later, okay? Okay, bye-bye.
Recording in progress.
I'm going to mute
so I'll
my
turn the meeting
audio, or we will have a reverberation.
Okay.
Okay.
Listen.
I'm going to turn on microphone And not the computer audio.
Still getting an echo. I have no.
So there's a, to everybody who's here, a thing that often causes a lot of problems is the microphones and the speaker.
Use the audio.
I'm on mute.
I'm on mute. You have to mute.
So Gary's.
You're supposed to be. It's terrible. Hi, Gary.
Hello, Gary. Please come over here. Turn them off.
No.
Are you muted?
But we're doing like
Mute the audio on the laptop. Should we be okay for the audio? Just turn the microphone.
If you guys mute, if those laptops are something, it should be fine. Just muting this will mute the whole front.
No, our individual laptop.
Yeah, you can mute your individual.
Are you muted?
No,
It's not muted.
yeah, I've got several problems. One, I haven't been able to connect to the Wi-Fi yet. And I want to also mute my computer.
I know you did this, so I have to leave at 11,
I was hoping
but
just to
I'll
get through
stay
these.
till then, but I have.
Oh,
to
I
leave.
just have.
Do you have any objections?
No, there's
Hang
just.
on,
this is
hang
where
on,
we're
buddy.
a bit
We're just trying to-
ambiguous. I mean, my main
Several
overall issue
ways.
is we should hand off to the town the text we want inserted in the safety. law.
Okay, so say that. Okay, so as it stands now, I'm working on the next generation of the document. You asked, work. Alice, yeah, and that's- that's what we can do that. We can insert the copy. Okay, we're working on- Chet and Roseanne are working on an executive summary based on the town council.
Yes.
Tell me when we can start.
Okay, so Gary, these are the recommendations we have already discussed.
Yeah,
And what we're going to take them four at a time. And then I'm hoping to vote on them four at a time.
Good.
Let them pass.
we should do it expeditiously.
I know that this
Yeah, I
time is
believe.
short, yeah.
Good.
Like stitches here, chip.
Wait, did you
Boy.
Fun? Did you get some from the voice?
Yeah, no. No, I just.
Who else is here?
Here's Troy.
I think I
Okay,
have the
what,
one.
Who,
everybody-
Bob?
Troy,
Answer my question. God.
Troy,
So it's
Hi.
either Bill
Hi.
Lane,
Yeah.
1919, or it's one of those.
who's that? The last name.
So
Deuce it?
capital B.
Doubt it.
Be
Okay,
lowercase.
I should not doubt it. You should have doubted it. This is Troy, and he has applied for membership. He's not a geologist, but he's very interested in being here, the scientific.
But that's not it. We have one more.
I think he'd be a
Welcome aboard.
Well, this is. We're glad you're joining us.
Capital B, yeah, capital B, capital L. I apologize.
I'm not on, you can turn this off. Okay, I can turn it off. Once I get booted up, I'm just,
My PowerPoint's on mute.
Okay, let's see if I-
Using these.
Mhm.
detail that's needed for-
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Turn down my volume off. You want it off, Brett?
Yeah, I had out of
Gotta get on the
town.
Wi-Fi first.
And I only knew about this because I bumped into Bob. That's next month. Next month's first through 25th. This was first through, actually ended up being 15.
As long as the computers up here are muted. So it's
Yeah,
not
that
playing
might
like
be
there.
Oh.
It should be just-
And now I'm getting another booster tomorrow. You know. Yeah, before I go to
I
Argentina.
do not know.
Yeah. Second booster, because the first one I got knocked out.
Yeah.
For today's
Eugene,
meeting?
immunologist lives down the
Oh,
street.
tomorrow,
He
let me
said
check on that.
someone
I'll get
he knew had gotten boosted in December of that. He said it was nasty. Yeah, I think it's not.
I turned my volume off, so I'm still going.
You do what you can. Yeah.
I'm not echoing probably now. It doesn't sound like it, like it. I don't hear
I
any
have
either.
Tomorrow morning is busy at the COVID test, and I'm taking my laptop to Apple because the battery's expanding. So they're genius. Battery. Yeah, I finally figured out what, this is my work one, why my real life is sitting at the table. Okay. All right, we're ready? Chat? All
See.
yours.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this work session of the Geologic Safety Committee. This is purely a work session. We need to have it at a later date, but we can't change the date of the meeting very easily. So there'll be no minutes of the last meeting. We are here to discuss and agree on the main topics to be presented to the town and to other committees regarding our ideas concerning the safety element. First of all, I want to thank everybody for being here. Gary Ernst is here. Nan is here, and Pat McCrory. And I want to introduce Bob Rucky, who has been accepted as another member of this committee. He was accepted by the town council last week. So congratulations, Bob. We'll put you to work for sure. Bob's already done a lot of work for this committee. I will turn the meeting over to Bob because he knows exactly what we are going to do today. I have spent a good deal of time working on the details for this committee. But Bob and Nan especially have worked up a lot of the details, and they will both discuss them at the appropriate times this morning. So Bob, please tell us what we're doing.
Is there any oral comments from anybody in the? Now, are there any comments from anybody here who's not on the agenda?
Wonderful.
Get the regular meeting date schedule.
So I'd like to just make a few introductory comments and then we'll get going. So today's basic purposes, we've had two meetings, this committee's had two meetings so far, discussing many topics. And this is a chance for us to see, we have a list of these topics and we'd like to vote on them to see if there's any agreement or disagreement. And if there's a disagreement, can we work it out? And hopefully that will, that might be a short process. And then after that, there will be the committee is going to produce through an ad hoc committee, a report that will be sent to the town council and also to the town that will explain what these recommendations are that we're going to discuss. And I'm going to pass things over to you, Nan, who has produced a list of the topics. And
Okay. Can you hear me? Yes. As Bob said, we've met twice on this subject, the recommendations for the safety element. And what we're voting on today is a distillation of the discussion from the two meetings. So Pat and I started out as a subcommittee of two, and then in her absence, she was on vacation. Bob stepped in and he and I continued working on the recommendations, and this is where we are today. Oops, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I was supposed to be seen on that. That was over here. Sorry.
There we go. Okay. Okay, so this is constantly on my mind. It's Alpine Road. It's near Troy's house, I guess. Just less than half a mile above the intersection with Portola Road. This was 1906. This is what happened to Alpine Road. This is what's going to happen to Portola Road, Alpine Road, the next time the San Andreas ruptures. So this, as I said, is constantly in mind and is more or less the inspiration for a lot of what we're doing today. Okay, so you have a handout of 16 recommendations, and I guess I should read recommendations. I'm taking them 4 at a time, and then I'd like to have a vote on 4 at a time, and then we'll take 4 and 4 and 4. Okay. Number 1, make all the town's geologic and geotechnical maps and reports, that is, reports on parcels, publicly available on the town's website. The maps are there. The reports have to be requested by with a special request right now. I'd like to have them there for anyone to see. They're important. Number 2, the safety element needs to address cascading hazards, and that is hazard triggers another, maybe triggers another, triggers another. And Gary pointed out at a previous meeting that the hazards could happen simultaneously, or it can happen months apart. So we recommend a hazard and risk study for cascading hazards and a comprehensive evacuation study, not just the traffic study that we have now. Comprehensive evacuation study that considers the possibility of our cascading hazards. Number 3, resilience of infrastructure. And this is sort of radical, but it's being done in other places. Anticipate and preserve the functioning of critical utilities and roads in the town during and after a geologic hazard event. As the draft safety element is written now, it just talks about resilience of utilities and roads for new developments that are in the fault zone or landslide areas. And I'd like to pull that out and make it applicable to the entire town. We need to think about in advance how to preserve our utilities and roads. Just need to do that. Okay. Number 4, create a new section in the safety element for policies that apply to a broad range of geologic and seismic hazards. Okay. So as it's written now, the consultants have very narrowly applied have specified some ideas that to make the safety element conform with the housing element for landslides, for faults. And it's just very narrow, very sort of pinpoint changes. And I think that the town has in mind to pass the safety element with basically just those changes, and one that we've recommended with the housing element, so that you have a safety element that's consistent with the housing element when the housing element passes, and they're planning to do that at the end of March. Work on the safety element is supposed to continue through the spring and into the summer. So I think we'll have another chance to make our points in the spring after the housing element passes. Okay,
The presumption is that. as the town-
microphone.
The presumption is that as the housing element is put in place, that is, we see what the sites are that are going to be developed, we are obliged to do detailed studies, or at least make sure that our studies are commensurate with the housing element plan. Is that correct? So we may have to do more work to look at the geologic hazards of the substrate before houses are put on.
That's correct. There will have to be geotechnical studies done at each site to make sure that the sites are suitable for the type of housing plan. It won't, the sites will be chosen without the studies. And that's the part that bothered me, especially for liquefaction down along the Los Troncos Creek. But they are choosing Glen Oaks, they're choosing Dorothy Ford Park as sites for housing. And unless anything changes between now and when they vote. And those are liquefaction susceptibility areas, but we don't know the actual status of the soil until they bore the holes.
Man,
Okay.
I'd like to.
Yeah.
So one, thank you for giving this brief overview of the first 4 recommendations. On the 4th one, something that I think may be helpful for the record and for most people to know, I'm on, aren't I? Is that the 4th one is to create a new section for a broad range of policies. And the reason is that in the current draft, many policies that actually are for a broad range of geologic hazards are in the landsliding section. And really the point of number 4 is let's make a special, please make a special section that's for the broad ones and just leave the landsliding policies in the landsliding section. Because with a section for a broad range of things, it's less likely that they'll be overlooked or something else could happen. So that's my only comment on the first 4. Where are we going to go next?
Yeah, are we going to vote on this?
Move to accept.
I second the motion to accept.
All in favor?
Well, you have to have that discussion. You have to make sure
Oh,
people
discussion.
don't want to discuss it anymore.
Oh, thank you. Discussion? Public comments? Public comments?
No discussion.
No, you want to call the vote? All in
All's in favor? Aye.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Okay.
Motion carries.
Good. That's recommendations 1 through 4. 5 through 8. Okay. And this is to Bob's point, so it's a little bit redundant. Policies protecting roads, utility infrastructure, and buildings from landslide or fault hazard should be applied to protect the entire town. They should not apply only to new construction. So as the draft safety element is written now, you've got these under landslide or under fault crossings, but just for new construction. And the whole town needs to be protected as much as possible, not just new buildings. Okay. Flooding, we discussed this quite a bit. We want a new master storm drainage report at least every 5 years. The last one was 50 years ago. We'd like the town to request the town to compile and keep the records of all flooding on public and private property to improve our drainage. And for new developments, we discourage the use of curbs and encourage and perhaps incentivize on-site water retention so that we are not overloading our storm drain system and we're keeping the water in the ground. Number 7, all new housing development must comply with the new safety element and new housing element when these elements have been completed. We're saying that both the safety element and the housing element should be finished before there's any new development. I don't know whether that's going to happen, but we need to make that point. 8, safety element must be written to have policies applied to the current versions of the town's geologic and geologic maps, geologic and ground movement potential maps, not the 2017 edition. They keep referring to the 2017 maps. I think they picked that up, and that's one change that I saw in the planning commission, the staff report to the planning commission. I think they've done that, but we need to say it anyway. Okay. Chat, we're voting on 5 through 8.
All right.
Do we have any discussion on these?
Yeah, public, okay,
Thank you,
public
Mary.
comment. Oh, okay. Troy, okay.
Are there any comments about these items? Any suggestions or changes?
Pat, Barry. Pat, any-
No. I just have
you okay? Gary,
Gary?
The problem is we really need to have the safety element applied to the accepted geologic map.
Yes.
And the accepted geologic map could be older. It could be the latest version. We would normally think that any change to the old map is going to improve it. And generally, I think this is the case. The problem, of course, is that any group that wanted to can come in and make a geologic map, whether it's relevant or not, or even fantasy. What we don't want is to be required to use the latest map if it does not become the accepted map. So in a way, you understand what I'm saying? Who decides what's accepted? Is it the geologist that decide it? Is it the town planning commission? Is it the board of trustees? I don't know how that is to be arranged, but it really is kind of critical that it is the accepted map. You know, a map is a work in progress. We used to say at the federal government, you have to paint your barn every few years, Senator. You can't just do it once and it's done forever. Why? Because the ground doesn't change, but the facts and our understanding and our many interpretations often do change. So the data don't change, the interpretations may, and that influences what we want to keep or want to we preserve as the accepted map. So I don't know that I'm not quite sure how you change this, because I think some of the later versions of the map have relevant data on it that should be taken into account by the safety element. need to raise this as an argument. It sounds sort of trivial in a sense, but what is accepted is what we need to go with.
Well, I'd like to,
That's right. We don't, I have no idea who does the acceptance.
so I'd like to respond to that and thank you for these. You raised very good points and thank you for that. I think later in this list, one of the action items is to define what is the process for updating the town's official maps. It should be open and transparent, and it should be peer reviewed, which I think if town has a good process, then we can have some confidence that the town maps in the versions in the future will be good.
Than the present.
Yes, and so right now, in the list of recommendations, the one that's in the 4 that Nan just mentioned was really just to get the writing so that it will focus on whatever will be the latest version instead of just being stuck with the 2017 version, which we know has some problems.
Thank you, Gary and Bob. This is one of the most critical elements that the Geologic Safety Committee is concerned about. That is trying to get our geologic map always up to date. And it's always not up to date. It isn't up to date right now. And we need a process to modernize it. We have a long way to go to make this happen. Man?
Yeah, I'm looking at Gary's suggestion. Instead of current version, you want to say latest accepted version?
And that would be appropriate. But
Okay,
it's like belling the cat. Who decides what's the latest accepted version? But yes, that is the language we want, the latest accepted version.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, 11. Yes, well, that's the process that Bob was talking about. And we don't have the details here, but I can go through it. The details that we're proposing. Okay, so I'm proposing to change number 8 to say policy, to have policies apply to the latest accepted versions of the town's maps. Town's geologic maps.
Mhm.
Okay, so,
You want to vote on this one?
yeah,
Are there any further comments or changes suggested for this topic? Does somebody want to?
I make a motion that we accept the number 5 through 8. Just the next 4. Gary
All those in favor?
second.
Gary seconded it.
Okay, all in favor? Yes?
Favor?
Chet called the
Aye.
question. Okay,
Any opposed? The motion carries.
okay. 9 through 12. The town's maps, geologic ground movement potential, should be updated at least once every 5 years, and they should be reviewed within 6 months after a new major geologic event. Gary, that was your suggestion. After a geologic event, review the maps pretty soon. And Chet, to your point that we're out of date now, we're close on 6 years out of date. And I know that there are changes that are pending that have come about as a result of parcel investigations when people investigate building sites. And the consulting geologist is collecting those. And someday, I suppose, somebody's going to propose a change to the maps. So 5 years, every 5 years, at least once every 5 years.
Please.
At least. Okay.
This is a topic that needs a good deal more discussion by the committee members. We can't do that right now. It's a hard, very difficult topic to address to the town, except that something has to be done to change the procedure. Nothing has been done for years, and we don't have a process for updating the map. We must have one.
We're working on that.
Well, that's number 11.
That's number 11. We're coming to that. Okay, let me go on for a second, then we'll come to number 11, which is Chet's point. The safety element should include geologic maps that show geologic hazards that are outside the town borders. As it is, it looks as if the San Andreas Fault ends at the Santa Clara County line on one side and Woodside on the other, and that's not the way it works. So even though there may be legal reasons that our official geologic and ground movement potential maps need to stop at the borders, I think the safety element, this was Bob's suggestion, actually. We thought the safety element should have other maps that extend the faults, extend landslides, whatever geologic hazards, to show to show the regional context, basically. Okay. Okay. Here's Chet's point. The safety element should define the procedure for updating the town's geologic map and ground movement potential map. Should be in the safety element itself. The process needs to be open and publicly transparent. The Geologic Safety Committee needs to be included in the process. So the process, Mary, do you know whether the Planning Commission, we were debating this, Bob and I, whether the Planning Commission absolutely has to be involved? Or can the Geologic Safety Committee and the town consultant recommend map changes directly to the council? Should go directly to the council. Right now, the town geologist appears before the Planning Commission, says, okay, here are the changes I think we should make. And the Planning Commission says, okay, and then that recommendation goes to the council and council says, okay. So. Wait. Safer?
I think going directly to the council.
I do too.
Well, right now, the proposal is to have a process defined that's open, that the goal is to have it be open and publicly transparent. We haven't really worked out the details of what that process should be, but I think that as a objective, which is what we're voting on, that this is what we would like, is an open and transparent public process.
I think that maybe we can leave the details for another meeting, but just for this meeting, say that the safety element should outline the process.
Yeah.
And then we can work on it later.
There's a
okay,
sense
Chet?
that
That's
we
fine.
provide these recommendations and then they just go.
I have a question for Mary.
Circular file.
So a way to break through that.
Yeah.
Okay, Chet has a question for Mary.
Mary, has the Planning Commission ever had the town geologist talk about the geologic map and how it's updated? Not. We do have a town geologist, and yet he's not involved, it seems, in some of these discussions.
So I want to try to address your question, Dad. I know that the town has wonderfully provided the agendas and minutes of meetings going all the way back to 2002, which is wonderful. I've been going through them. I've seen instances where in the past, for example, Ted Driscoll always wanted to make sure that the Geologic Safety Committee was part of the process of updating the map, and the committee was always consulted.
Driscoll, Sayer,
No, Ted Driscoll was a town councilman, yes.
council member.
And he wanted
okay.
to make sure that the Geologic Safety Committee was part of the process in the past. So from my perspective, this request is to make it more open and transparent, but this is really a continuation of what has for most of the town's history been the tradition, is that this committee be involved in the process of updating the map. And as far as your question, Dad, how much has the Planning Commission been involved? We don't know, but we can look that up in the minutes and the agendas for the Planning Commission.
But things have sort of slid gradually to give basically full responsibility for changing the maps to the geologic consultant and the planning commission with rubber stamp by the council. So we, at another meeting, maybe the next meeting, we really need to talk about this, how we think it should be. We have some ideas, but we need to discuss.
It's the members of the Geologic Safety Committee who are studying the geology of the town and have become aware that there's much that should be added to the town map. So we need a process. We do, I'm just saying, once again, we do need a process by which the town map can be upgraded. It's very much needed. We're very out of date.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're not
That's- yes.
defining the process.
We're
here.
not-
We're just trying to achieve the goal of having an open and publicly transparent process.
Process in the safety element. At the point of discussions with the town geologist, I think the approved to consult,
Yeah. no.
yes, and the approved changes approved, and that's something we discussed, that we all agree on would be taken to either the planning commission or directly to the council. So you get, and to Bob's point, and I think Chet's point earlier, there needs to be peer review. It's not just one person's opinion. There needs to be, well, Gary said, I think said it best, I think. He said, you need, these are complicated questions and they need a lot of discussion. They need a lot of minds working on them. Okay.
What's number 12?
Number 12. Yeah. Okay, so number 12 is, this really bothered Pat and me. States landslide susceptibility map, which is included in the draft safety element, was designed as a general overview of landslide potential for all purposes. It should be used only in conjunction with the town's ground movement potential map, which is much more detailed. I compared the two maps, and the state's map is for the entire state. It's based on certain values of certain parameters, and it's generally pretty good. But if you get down to the parcel level, no, there are differences, and our town's map always has to trump this map that's in the consultants included in the safety element. If they want to put it in, fine, but it can't be used instead of our map for any purpose. And that's the point of 12. Okay. Public comments on 9 through 12?
Are we ready to vote on this one?
Not quite yet.
No,
We're-
are there any comments?
Yeah, comments from the committee, right? Pat, do you have any?
No.
Gary? Okay. Okay.
Move the question.
Yeah,
Motion
to question. Is there a motion?
Is there a motion? Somebody, what,
Motion to vote.
present a motion?
Okay, come on.
Pat has made a motion to vote on this. I second the motion.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No negative votes. So this topic is accepted.
Okay. Last four. Where multiple maps pertain, all the maps should be consulted. More information is better than less. And, you know, you may have conflicting information, the maps, and you need to work out exactly what should be included, what not, what should be considered for any particular situation. Okay, that's 13. 14, the policies and actions of the safety element should be implemented through the municipal code. This seems like a given, but it doesn't happen. Very frequently doesn't happen. You can have ideas and say policies in the safety element that are aspirational and they never get into the code. Other policies are fully implemented in the code. We're fortunate that the our building code is very strict about limiting building and hazard and areas with geologic hazard. That was done a long time ago. It's been maintained, and that's really good. So that's a good example of how the safety element has been translated down to the municipal code. There are other examples in the old safety element and the new draft safety element where I don't think the ideas ever got into the code. And we're suggesting that the safety element should be a strong document and should be an actionable document. 15, the maps in the general plan that are used to identify the locations of geologic hazards must be maps that have been peer reviewed. Okay, there's a peer review. So we say general plan that includes housing element, includes safety element, includes everything. Land use.
So how are you defining peer review? Do you mean published maps?
Okay, good question. So you have a published map.
Civic professional, I would think.
Yeah.
So you're saying you bring in outside professionals to review them?
You don't have to bring them in, you just have to submit the documents to them. That's what you mean, though. Yeah. They need not be on site. Just a competent professional. I think. One of our fundamental problems is every location is unique in some ways, and that you have to be on the ground to see some of these. But we do an awful lot of review of works at a distance, that is with outside professionals. So it seems to me main thing is that you need people who are competent in the subjects being discussed.
Okay, so how would you change this? Peer reviewed by,
The general
with
use,
relevant
well, of course, the general
expertise?
use plan is more than just science.
I'm not sure how to answer your question, Nan, about how to change it or if it needs to be changed, but I think it could be helpful to know that in the current draft, there are maps that have been created by consultants that generalize things, and it seems not wise to let those maps to dictate policies. If you have a policy that says something has to be based on a map, it should be a high quality map, preferably one of the town's official maps, instead of something that's been arbitrarily done to simplify the situation. Because some of these simplified maps, while it's good to have simplified maps, there's a purpose for those, but they should not be used for dictating policy.
the example.
Maybe something
ahead.
just like peer reviewed by
Pat,
professionals.
speaking to the microphone.
Peer reviewed by professionals with relevant expertise. That makes it broader if it's not just geological
With relevant,
expertise.
okay. All right, good. The experience that, the experience that inspired this suggestion was last February, a year ago, when I was listening into a housing element committee meeting, and I realized that the fault map showed just the San Andreas fault, basically nothing else. And the and liquefaction potential was completely ignored. I spoke up, and of course my voice just went nowhere. The consultants' maps didn't take into consideration any of the other potential faults for the housing, to rule out housing sites, and that they did not rule out or make a special exception for sites with liquefaction susceptibility potential. So I would like to see that not happen again. Okay, so the suggestion, Pat's suggestion is to change this recommendation to say peer reviewed by professionals with relevant expertise. Okay, and then we have one more last recommendation. The safety element should encourage research on faults and other geologic and seismic hazards within the town. So, any thoughts on that? Public comment, Troy? Yeah, you might have to turn on the microphone there.
Or maybe just use this.
Yeah, do you want to come up and speak into one of the microphones on the dais?
Got a green light on. Yeah.
Yeah, right here. You have to speak directly into it.
Okay, my name is Troy Douthit and I live on Willowbrook. And Willowbrook happens to be a valley that was filled in with sediments by erosion off the mountains. And it is therefore thought to be subject to liquefaction in the case of an earthquake. I'd like to encourage the addition of two words, a word really, in element 16, so that it would read, the safety element should encourage research on faults and liquefaction
Mhm.
and other geologic and safety hazards within the town.
You want to spell out liquefaction
think so.
specifically?
Okay. I would encourage that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for your suggestions. We
That's a
appreciate it.
good suggestion.
Okay, so what's next? Discussion committee? Gary, Pat, thoughts on just adding faults, liquefaction?
Yeah, you can do it. You take off the and say faults, comma, liquefaction and other geologic and seismic hazards. It just broadens the scope and it makes that people realize, wait a minute, there's a lot of these things we should be talking about. We could have an et cetera, but this is much more specific. And it doesn't hurt to call attention to these things because that's not the one that's going to be top on everybody's mind when they think about the San Andreas Fault. Think about earthquake.
Okay, well, okay, faults, liquefaction, should we have landslides? And other-
Liquefactions and other, well, well, and other, you see, there other that includes a lot. If we include all the others we can possibly think of, we don't need to say others.
Yeah, I
But
know.
I think that's enough just for diversity and calling attention to, hey, there's a lot of different possibilities here.
It's kind of a hidden hazard. right?
Yeah,
You
it
kind of know
is,
where the
it is,
landslides
yeah.
are,
Yeah.
the potential for landslides, but liquefaction on Willowbrook, yeah, there's all these houses, everyone looks set. And then shakes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Floods.
We missed out swelling clays, but you know.
Oh, we
there's just
did.
So many
We did.
hazards
We
you
did.
can talk
We
about at
did.
once.
There's something called subsidence, ground subsidence, and I'm not sure exactly what's included in that, but
Well, that can be included in it, or compaction and stuff like. But we probably can't think of all the possibilities here, so I think other really is good to keep, but I think it doesn't hurt to add liquefaction.
okay.
Because I,
And then besides, I cut out the and.
Wait, I'm sorry, say again?
All I said, what I suggested was faults, comma, liquefaction and other geologic and seismic hazards.
Okay, right.
Well, just trying not to add too much verbiage to it, that's all.
Yeah,
Right, but getting
that's
more
fine.
bread.
but calling out liquefaction is a major issue,
Yeah,
basically.
it is.
because it's a hidden.
If it happens to you, it's major.
It certainly is. It's not good. Okay.
Well, I'm glad to see this last one in there. There hasn't been much discussion in previous meetings, but points that you've made, Gary, the more people looking at a problem, the better. I think that the town is better off by understanding things better, which is why this is in here, is the town should encourage this kind of research. We're not specifying what the research is or how to do it, but just trying to make a broad request, when possible, please encourage it.
Research.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got two changes, 1 to 15. It says have been peer reviewed by professionals with relevant expertise, very specific. And note 16, calling out liquefaction, research on faults, liquefaction and other geologic and seismic hazards. Okay, so is there any, I guess we've had public comment, we've had discussion. Do we need any more discussion?
Is there any discussion for anybody?
Move the question.
Somebody propose that we vote on this?
Motion to vote.
Gary.
All in favor?
Gary moved and
Pat
Pat seconded and we're all in favor.
I'm in favor.
Okay, good.
Yes.
That's it.
It
We've,
passes.
it passes. Hooray. All right. So we've got, finally, we've got our 16 recommendations to the town. And the next step will be to produce, as I see it, 2 documents. Pat and I can continue working on a very detailed document that will tell the consultants and the planning department exactly where we think our recommendation should fit into their document. And Chet is working on what I call an executive summary that's suitable for the general public, the town council, and the planning commission that takes these 16 points and gives enough detail so it makes them understandable, but doesn't go into the hairy.
Does not go into detail. It just sharpens exactly what we're talking about
Yeah,
so that anybody will understand it easily without looking at a lot of details.
right.
My thoughts for strategy with what Nan and I are going to work on is write the draft text that we think should be inserted in the safety element. Don't just give verbiage to the town and expect them to translate it into what we want to go into the draft. Give it to them and they can do a back and forth if they want, but just make it easy for them. This is where we think it should go in the safety element. And this is what we think it should say. So it's just eliminate a couple steps and make sure it doesn't just get swept to the side. Hopefully.
Okay. We'll try.
You got her comment.
So, yeah, so my recommendation for strategy is that Nan and I, when we work on our piece, that the text we write is draft text to be inserted into the safety element. And we'll say where we think it should go, and this is what we think it should say. So it just makes it simpler. We're not asking someone else to take our verbiage and turn it into text for the safety element.
Are there any further comments on these topics?
No, I just wanted to say this isn't the end.
Not the end.
And not, well, no, it's the end of the meeting, I hope, but beginning of the real work on the safety element, which will happen in, according to the town schedule, April, May, June, probably, most of the work of updating the safety element from the draft and from the recommendations from the safety committees. The town is, I believe, planning a public process. Mary, you might clarify. You might have more detail than I do, but there might be public meetings and there would be opportunity for the public to comment on the next go round. Okay. So if we think we haven't been heard, we'll have another chance to make our points.
I'd like to just make one observation. I find that in life, we often do things based on assumptions, and sometimes our assumptions are wrong. The list of 16 things that we've covered today is, I think, a very good list of things that need to be put into the draft today, but we also know that the town is going to continue to work on the draft. We know that there are sections that are missing, which implies, and this is where assumptions come in, that implies that there's going to be more work, there's going to be more review. This is not the end of the process. This is not the end of this committee's recommendations on the safety element, that there's will be a place and a time to deal with the parts that hopefully the town will add that are needed, because there are things that are missing, like an evacuation plan. I can go on, but for the sake of time, I won't. Thank you.
Thank you. Well put. Okay. Is there anything else to discuss? Do we have I guess, Mary, we're requesting a regular meeting time at the second Monday of each month at 10 a.m. And I hope the town council will pass that. Assuming that's the case, do we want to meet in March, or maybe not, just plan now to meet in March, second Monday in March at 10 a.m.?
I won't be here.
In March, second Monday in March.
Second Monday, yeah, Pat won't be here, but you won't be here for almost all of March.
First through the 25th, I'm gone.
Yeah, okay. So we'll try to keep you in the loop.
So the 13th, Monday the 13th, at least I've already got it written down at 10 o'clock.
Do you? Okay, good.
I'm trying to hold that date.
Yeah.
6th can't be, I can't do it. That's the first Monday.
First, second Monday
The second Monday is the 13th.
is the
I can
13th.
do that.
Okay, excellent. You can't do the first, you can do the second.
So
Okay,
cannot do the first.
okay. Okay, so we plan to reconvene March 13th, 10 a.m., same place.
If we have real need for it, we will.
Yeah, I think we will, but yes,
We probably will.
we probably will. Okay,
Do we need to vote on anything more here?
no.
All
that's
right.
it.
We,
Motion to adjourn?
are there any further comments from anybody? If not,
Chris, this one, oh, you have? Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to? Wait, I couldn't.
Not seeing any
Can't hear.
hands. I'm not
Christy, come forward.
not seeing any hands
Yeah, I saw
raised.
your hand, but I never got into the, to the boss.
Sorry about that. Okay, Christy.
I'm wondering if in the future that the staff from Portola Valley can make sure the AV equipment is working for the public, for the microphones. It's really important that people hear these comments. I did want to say I am curious about the drainage, and I support everything you passed tonight. I think it's a nice change and will inform those on geological hazard areas and in the future. So was surprised to hear the drainage has not been updated for 50 years. That was shocking to me, absolutely shocking. I think we need to look at drainage in the town, which can cause liquefaction or landslides. I know I'm at the bottom of a hill. I get the whole water from Golden Oak going past my property. The property across the street is taking a swale on her property. This is very important that we know where our drainage goes, where it overflows, where it affects different parcels. I know I wouldn't want to buy a parcel that's flooding during the last storm, and I'd want to know about it. And I'd want all landslides documented from the past, so I understand if I was buying a house in this area, where the problems are. So thank you for all your work. I think you've done a great job.
Thank you, Christy.
you.
Yeah. No, Christy makes good points. If you were buying a piece of land, looking at buying a piece of land here, like Christy, I think you'd want to know if there had been liquefaction problems, if there were drainage problems in the past, and if there's any potential for landslide. I mean, there are reports that are probably buried in the town's archives that need to be brought forward, and for the flooding especially. I think there needs to be a really, really good accounting of flooded areas, and our last few storms were good examples of where we can flood in a major rainstorm, major rain event.
No further comments.
Move adjournment.
Are we ready to adjourn?
Yeah.
Gary moved to adjourn. I second.
Everybody in favor?
Yes,
Yes.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
thank you. Okay. Did we record?
Yeah.
Okay.